Everybody talks about the gloriousness of becoming successful, the glories of investing your money and seeing the big returns, the glories of being a successful entrepreneur, but never the hustle and the grind and the grit and the pain and the sacrifice that it takes to get there.
If I have $1,000 to invest, how should I do it?
If you only have $1,000 to invest right now, you need to take that $1,000 and invest it in a way that's going to earn you more money. If you take that $1,000 and you put it into something like an ETF, you put it into the stock market, and you just try to get an average return of, let's just say 10% a year. Now we're talking a little bit above average. But if you can get a 10% return on $1,000, that means after a year, you are going to earn $100. Nothing life-changing. You're not going to be able to change your lifestyle with an extra $100 a year. So what you need to do right now is you need to take that $1,000 and invest it in a way that is going to earn you more money. The way you do that is going to vary. You can invest it into your own education. If you have a job, that might be investing into some sort of certification, some sort of other specialty class. That way you can get a higher paying job. If you are looking to work outside of a job, start a side business, a side hustle, start your own business. You can either use this money as seed capital to start your company or use this as education. Invest in some sort of class, some sort of education that can help you earn some more money. So I spend a lot of money on classes. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars a year in classes, coaching, some sort of consulting, probably more than that. But I spend a lot of money on some sort of education, people that can help guide us. Some of this is directly in the form of classes. Now, I don't buy as many classes now as I used to. I buy more of coaching and consulting, which is a lot more expensive. But investing in the education to help you earn more money. The way you can earn more money, I mean, it's unlimited. I mean, you have so many different ways you can earn money on the internet. I mean, you can start your own company, you can start your own product, you can create content, you can be an affiliate for other products. There's so many different ways. They're not easy. None of them are easy. Most people fail because they're not willing to put in the work. But if you're not willing to put in the work, then don't waste your money on a class. Or you can use this money as seed capital. And a lot of people are going to say, $1,000 to start a business? Are you crazy? You can start a lot of businesses with $1,000. I mean, if you start a business that just has to do with your own labor, your own work, you don't need any money to start. You can go and you can start cutting your neighbor's lawns. You might have to buy a lawnmower if you don't have one, or you can rent one. You can start a painting business. You can start a moving company. You can start a digital marketing agency. I mean, this is so needed nowadays. And you just have to be able to help businesses market their products. If you know how to use social media, if you know how to run advertisements, if you know anything about SEO and organic marketing, this is a service that now you can package up and go to businesses and say, hey, let me help you build your internet presence. Maybe you build their website. Maybe you help them with SEO. Maybe you help manage their social media. There's a real need for this. And if you can help solve that need for a business, now you can get paid to do that. And this doesn't really cost you that much money. And even if you have your own business idea, you can start it with less than $1,000. I used to have a sock company that I used to run. And I had to work with a number of different textile engineers, manufacturers, and most manufacturers need something called minimum orders, a massive amount of minimum orders. So we're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars with the minimum orders. I didn't have that type of cash, and I didn't want to spend it. So what a lot of people do is either they're going to stop, they're going to say, oh, I don't have the money to do this, or they're going to go out and they're going to raise a whole bunch of debt to fund it, and hopefully it works out. Or you can be even more creative. And so what I started to do was I started to work with the textile engineers and the manufacturers, and I said, okay, let's work out a deal, a revenue share agreement. That way I don't got to front all the cash right now. Let me try to license some of this technology so I don't have to invest in building everything from scratch. There are alternative ways for you to get a product off of the ground without having to front a whole bunch of money if you can sell your idea. And that's the hard part. You have to be able to sell your idea and show that, hey, that you're passionate about it and that it is going to work. Because if you can get the manufacturer behind you and they love your idea, then they could end up making more money in the long run if they believe in you. Now, it'll end up costing you more money in the long run because now you have to pay them more money because you became successful, but they believed in you and you didn't have to go out and raise a bunch of money before you had a product. So you have to be able to sell that idea. Like when I started my event planning company when I was in college, I started off in high school hosting teen parties because I used to work with a lot of DJs since I worked at weddings in high school. Went to college, not knowing what to expect in college because I didn't really have a lot of family that went to college in America. And so I didn't know what to expect. I thought everybody goes to college to study. And I thought people would spend their Friday nights in the chemistry lab doing chemistry reactions. I come to college and I see everybody around me partying. And I was like, holy moly, you gotta be crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody has any money. You're all living off of student loans and yet you're sitting here blowing the money. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? I'm not into partying. I'm not into drinking. I used to host these teen parties in high school, but I need something to do on Friday nights. So that's when I'm a freshman in college. I started knocking on doors at the clubs, the bars, the restaurants, asking them, hey, can I host a party here? And some of them would say, yeah, you can host a party here. We just need $10,000. Went to another place and said, sure, you can host a party here. We need $30,000. And $30,000 was like, that's an insane amount of money. Then I went to a place and they said, sure, you can host a party here. I'm not going to charge you any money, but what you can do is we will do a revenue share. The club will take 50% of your cover, the amount of money that you make at the door when people have to pay to come in. They'll take 50%, I take 50%. And then I did the same agreement with my DJs. I don't have to pay them to get started. I said, okay, you DJ my party, you help promote the party, and in exchange, I will give you 50% of my profits. So now, yeah, I cut down my profits quite a bit. I was only walking away with 25% of our revenue. The club would take 50%, the other DJ would take 25%, I would only take 25%, but it was a way for me to get started without investing a whole bunch of cash, because then I'd have to rent out a venue, I'd have to pay the DJs, I'd have to pay all this extra money, but now I was able to start with this. And it was a great way for me to get started, because when we would profit $4, $5, $6, even $10,000 in a night, it would start to add up. And that's when now we can start reinvesting the cash and start changing the way that we do things in ways that are more profitable, but you have to be willing to start. Now, I'm not saying that we started profitably. My first event was a complete flop because the venue that I was working with got shut down the night before. Kind of a funny story. I was a host. I spent it was my first official real party, because before that I was hosting parties with somebody else, my teen parties, and I was like, I'm going to do it on my own now because I kind of learned the ropes. And this was my first official party. And I had worked out this agreement with a club that, hey, I'm going to host this party here. I spent months marketing it. And the way that I would market it is I would buy 5,000 flyers. And it only cost me like $100. I get a design and I make 5,000 flyers. And then I would pass out all 5,000 flyers. So I'd do that. And then I'd get a whole bunch of kind of agents. These are people who would want to promote the party for me and with me. And I didn't have money to pay them. So what I would do was I would say, okay, I will get you in for free, give you VIP access. So you get this little lanyard saying that you're a VIP, so you feel really cool, and you get to cut the line. So people did this not for money, but they did it because they wanted to feel included. They wanted to feel cool. Because if you have a lanyard, you're one of the cool people at the event.
Right.
So people wanted to be promoters. And so I would get people from different colleges saying, yeah, I want to be a promoter, because they want to feel like they're one of the cool people. So they got to wear a lanyard, and then I would give them a big chunk of flyers to promote. So they'd be promoting it on Facebook. They'd be pushing out these flyers, and then they would come in and they would get to cut the line. So all their friends would be sitting in line, and then they would get to cut the line and come in for free. And in exchange, they get to bring all their friends pay cover. And we'd also do these things like birthday shout outs, where if it was your birthday in that month, I would reach out to you and say, hey, happy birthday. We know your birthday is this month. I want to reward you for your birthday by giving you free VIP access into the party. Again, doesn't cost me anything. You get free access to the party, which again, doesn't cost me anything. But what are you going to do? You're not going to celebrate your birthday alone. You're going to bring all your friends who have to pay to come in. So we did, I spent months marketing it. It was going to be, the first party. So I working to make it as big as possible. But then the night of, so the party was on a Friday. The Thursday night, 2 a.m., so Friday morning, Thursday night, the club got shut down by the police for whatever reason. I think they said that they were serving alcohol to people underaged. The police raided the venue, and now it was a day of. Friday morning, I get a call from my DJ just because he knew somebody who was at the party the night before when it got raided. So he calls me and he says, hey, is our party still on tonight? I was like, what are you talking about? Of course it's on. He's like, I heard it got shut down. So now I'm like, what? And he tells me, so now I start calling up my contact at the club, and I was like, trying to see what's going on. No one's picking up. I call the other number. Nobody's picking up. And these aren't like major organizations where you have like a receptionist. You're calling the manager or the owner of the club.
Right.
And no one's picking up. And it was getting nervous because now I didn't know what to do. And then eventually around noon, I got that call back and they were like, sorry, man, we got shut down. So now I was like, oh my God, we have a party in 10 hours. 10 p.m. The doors are supposed to open. We don't have a place to do it. So now we're calling around. Same thing. People are saying we need all this money to host a party. And I called every single place on our campus. And I was getting creative. I mean, I was calling restaurants. I was calling like museums. I was calling anybody that potentially had some open space where we could do it. And I was able to find this like Italian restaurant that allowed us to do a party there. And they didn't have all the things that we needed, but it would work. And so it was a big mess trying to figure things out. But we were able to get the message out there thanks to Facebook, thanks to word of mouth, had the event, lost a bunch of money that night because now we didn't have somebody who could sit there at the door. We didn't have somebody to make sure everyone paid who got in. It was a great time. People had an amazing time and the party was packed. People came in, had a lot of fun, but I lost a lot of money and I had to pay a lot of fees to the restaurant because there was a lot of damage that happened. So not only did we lose money in the event, then pretty much I emptied out my bank account to give them money for all the damages that happened. But that was how we started. And then it became profitable after that as I started to figure things out, as I started to learn how things worked. But you have to start somewhere. And you have to be willing to invest in yourself. That might mean investing in your idea, investing in your education, or investing in your certification. That way you have a way to earn more money. Because if you just take $1,000 and that's all you have and you throw that money in the stock market and you hope that this is going to be able to be enough for you to retire or whatever, build wealth, it's not enough. You need to have more. Now, obviously, you can make riskier investments. You can try to go into, the cryptocurrency investments, the things that are having these massive quick run-ups, hoping that you can double, triple, quadruple that money quickly. Yeah, it's possible, but that's also gambling. There's also a chance it won't work. Because while some people will be able to turn $1,000 into $100,000, a lot of people are going to lose it all. Mm-hmm. So you have to know how to earn more money.
I think people are really afraid when it comes to investing, especially when it comes to investing in themselves, about the time that they have to invest in things. As you kind of mentioned, a lot of that takes a long time to do. What do you say to, taking that time in your investments?
It is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. And that's the thing that, nobody talks about. Everybody talks about the gloriousness of becoming successful, the glories of investing your money and seeing the big returns, the glories of being a successful entrepreneur, but never the hustle and the grind and the grit and the pain and the sacrifice that it takes to get there. When I was starting off as an entrepreneur, I was working around the clock. I was in school full time, then I was running businesses full time. So I was sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, working every day a week, 7 days a week. I wasn't getting holidays off, weekends off. I mean, I was working my butt off. And you don't see that. And then that business, I ultimately shut it down, even though I was making good money, because that wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. But I learned a lot and I made good money and I started investing in real estate because of that. And then that helped me when I started my next business. And then the next one, right? I didn't have any formal business experience. The way that I learned was by doing, trying, and failing. and so that's how I learned. And you have to be willing to put in that work. That's why they always say it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. You have to put in that 10 years of grind that nobody sees. And then after that, you have the education, you have the knowledge, you have the experience to now do something that will really be able to scale. Now, maybe you'll be one of those people that on that first hit, you will be able to turn this $1,000 into $100,000 or $1 million. Fine, but it's not very likely. You're going to have to put in a lot of work, and it takes time. And that's one of the reasons why so many people will not be willing to do it, because they're going to start and they're going to say, man, I saw this guy on Instagram turn $1,000 into $100,000 in 6 weeks, and I've been here grinding away, working my butt off, not seeing any returns. This isn't meant for me. Screw that. I'm not one of the fortunate people. I'm not one of the lucky people, so it's not for me. And, and that's what happens to so many people is they give up. They throw in the towel before they really had the chance to let their education compound. We talk about money compounding all the time. If you want to build wealth, the way you do that is by investing time for a long time and consistently, right? You keep putting your money into whatever it is, real estate, stocks, crypto, anything you want. I mean, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day if you understand the value of the investment and you believe in it. If you keep investing and you stay consistent with your investments, you are compounding your money, you're compounding your wealth. But what about the compounding of your education? The only way you do that is by constantly keep learning, reading books, taking classes, getting coaches, whatever it is, and also by doing. The more you do, the more mistakes you're going to make. The more mistakes you're going to make, the more things you're going to learn. You learn way more from your mistakes than you do your successes. So you have to be willing to make those mistakes, and you have to be willing to put in that time. And you cannot sacrifice that. I mean, you cannot bypass it. It is a sacrifice that everybody has to make. Every successful person has to go through that, where you're going to have to learn how to grow your wealth. And if you're not willing to do that, and maybe you get lucky and just money just falls into your lap, maybe you make a good trade, maybe you win the lottery, you get the genetic lottery, your parents give you $1 million, whatever it is. If you don't know how to make it, it's going to be a lot harder for you to keep it. You have to put in that effort.
Yeah, I mean, people see that. It's really intimidating to see those billionaires and to see people that are successful because they don't see everything that happens behind the scenes. There's a really great quote, actually. It goes, "Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's finished product." And this is exactly that situation.
Yeah. It's like looking at Instagram and
exactly.
What happens on Instagram? Why do people get so anxious and these like depression out of social media? Because they compare their lives to these perfect people and perfect lives on Instagram. You go on Instagram and every couple is the happiest couple that you've ever seen. Every person is the fittest, most jacked guy you've ever seen. Every girl is skinny, always eating healthy, and you're sitting here at yourself like, God dang, I'm fat. I don't got that car like them. I'm fighting with my spouse. Now, the reality is, yeah, you can work on these things. You can work on your health. You can work on your relationship with your significant other. But nobody's life is perfect. Guess what? I know a lot of influencers. And I also know some relationship influencers. And my God, some of the fights that these relationship influencers have, they're happy when you put a camera in front of them. But when you go behind the scenes and you see what's really going on, it is sad. I mean, these people are, you don't see the full thing on social media. You see the highlight reel. You're seeing the best of the best. You're not seeing everything else. So when you talk about comparing yourself to somebody else, you're comparing yourself right now where you are to somebody else's finished product. You're comparing yourself where you are right now to somebody 20 years ahead of you. And you don't need to compare. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter who your daddy is. The only thing that matters is what you're doing right now. What you're trying to do is be a better person today than you were yesterday. What you want to do is have a better relationship today than you did yesterday. Yeah, guess what? Some people have more money than you. So what? Some people have a better relationship than you. So what? What you need to do is make your life better. And that's what you have to be focused on. People, I mean, if we focus on the financial side, so many people are so busy counting other people's dollars that they ignore what they have in their own pocket. They're so worried about what somebody else is getting out of a transaction that they completely ignore what benefit they could be getting. You know, we talk about like with classes, you see this all the time. People will say, "Oh, I don't want to pay $100 for this class because this person's going to make money off of me." But if you can pay $100 to get a class that will teach you how to make $200, is it not worth it? And you know, if I put it in that sense, people will say, yeah, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. They're going to say, why should I pay you $100 to learn something? Well, this person had to go through, you know, mistakes and experiences and whatever to learn whatever it is that they're packaging up and put it into a program for $100. Maybe it's a scam. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what, it just depends on the person.
Right.
If you really want to learn from somebody, their time has some sort of value. But if it can teach you something that can give you $200 worth of value, is it worth it? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. And it's a lot harder in the beginning when you only have $1,000 because now you got to be really picky, because if you make a bad investment, now a big chunk of your net worth, your life savings are gone. But as you start to grow, you're going to be more willing to invest in yourself. I mean, I have bought so many classes over the years on, you know, building businesses and this type of stuff. And some of them were really, really, really helpful. Some of them a little bit helpful. But each one have taught me at least one thing. And most of these business courses sell for at least $1,000, you know, usually in the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 range. And a lot of them will only teach me one thing. And that one thing, though, is all I really needed to get out of it to make my money back and many times more. But again, you got to be picky. You got to know who you're learning from. You got to understand, did this person achieve what it is that I want to achieve, or is this person not the right teacher for me? So, I mean, you have to vet it out. You can't just blindly throw your money into the next, 6 steps to 6 figures system, because most of those are just scams. You want to learn something real, learn from somebody that has done what you want to learn, somebody that has done what you want to achieve.
So as far as what people can do when they have this $1,000, so they're investing in themselves, what do they do after? So you mentioned you can't just throw this money in the stock market. Is there something else that they can do after that to continue to build wealth?
We're going to jump back into the video in just a second. But before we do, I want to talk to you about our Market Insiders program, because if you're interested in investing your money in the stock market and the real estate market, our Market Insiders program can really help you with that. Market Insiders is not a class. It is a weekly group coaching session. Every week, you're going to get access to a live class where you'll learn something about how to invest your money in the stock market and the real estate market. And because these classes are live, you will be able to apply what you learned to the real world. So for example, let's assume that this week's coaching session is on the topic of how to read a cash flow statement. That means for the first half of the class, you might go over what is a cash flow statement, how to find a cash flow statement, what it means, and how to understand it. And for the second half of class, if Amazon released the earnings statement this week, you might actually go over Amazon's cash flow statement. That way you can apply what you learned, since all of these coaching sessions are live. The real estate coaching sessions work the exact same way. You're going to go over a lesson like how to understand the cash flows of a property or how to find an undervalued property, and then you're going to apply what you learned to today's market. As soon as you enroll in Market Insiders, not only are you going to get access to our stock market and our real estate coaching sessions, but you're also going to get access to our stock market beginners class for free that will walk you through everything you need to know to get started investing your money in the stock market. And you're also going to get access to all the previous coaching recordings, that way you can go back and learn more, and you're going to get access to our private community of serious investors. This is our exclusive Discord community that's made just for Market Insiders, and you can go into this community, network with other investors, and you can ask your questions. When I was working to create Market Insiders, there were 2 things that were very important to me. First, the coaches, because I wanted to make sure that the teachers were real investors, and second, the pricing, because I wanted to make sure that it was very affordable. First, talking about the teachers, all of our coaches have been vetted. These are not some random gurus that we found. These are real investors, people who have been investing their money for years, people who've gotten great returns, and people who have the money behind them. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars invested themselves. So these are real investors who are doing what they teach. And on the price side, it was very important to me that Market Insiders was an affordable program. I didn't want to create a program that would cost you $1,000 or $900 to get started with Market Insiders. I mean, it costs less than the price of dinner for 2 if you want to get started with Market Insiders. And you don't even got to take my word for it, because I know there's a lot of crappy products on the internet. You can try out Market Insiders for free. We have a free 10-day trial where you can go through the entire Market Insiders program, and then you can decide if it's right for you or not. During this free trial, you're going to get access to everything. You're going to get access to our group coaching sessions, you're going to get access to our free stock market class, you're going to get access to our previous recordings, and you're going to get access to our private community of investors. This way, you can try it out and then decide if it's worth the money or not. If you start Market Insiders, you try it, and then you realize that you hate it, well, then you can cancel your membership during your free trial and it won't even cost you a penny. But if you start Market Insiders, you try it, and then you love it, well, then you can decide if it's worth it or not for you. This way, you literally have nothing to lose. So if you want to learn more and get started with your free 10-day trial to Market Insiders, I'll put the link to where you can get started and join with the free trial in the description below. No, you can throw it in the stock market. Just understand the type of returns that you're going to get. Okay. Right? In the stock market, you're trying to get a 7 to 10% return a year annually. Now, obviously, in recent times, we've been seeing people try to get much higher returns. They've been making, riskier investments. They're trying to trade, which is fine. Trading is not investing. Trading is more of an active way to earn money. So just like flipping houses is an active way to earn money. I'm buying a house, trying to renovate it, trying to flip it for a quick profit. When I trade, same thing. Now, this is not investments where I'm trying to get a 7 to 10% a year. I'm trying to get a much higher return because now I'm actively trying to find a stock that is about to go up, buy it, and then sell it quickly. Again, highly risky. Most traders end up losing money, but it is a way for people to earn more money in the short term. Now, once you start to do that, we already talked about what you do to start earning more money. Once you start to earn more money, this is where now you need to take your dollars and use them in the right ways. Because what you don't want to do is now you start earning more money through whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's starting a side hustle, earning more money at your job, you got your certification, you're trading stocks, whatever it is, you're earning more money. Now you want to make sure you're using the money the right way, which means you want to take a big chunk of this cash and invest it. You don't want to just go and blow all this money. I like to follow the 75-15-10 plan. This is something that I talk about all the time. 75 cents out of every dollar that you earn is the maximum that you can spend. 15 cents out of every dollar that you earn is the minimum you should be investing. 10 cents out of every dollar that you earn is the minimum that you're saving. This way, now you're paying yourself first. You're always putting money aside for your investments, your savings, and once you build your savings cushion, you're going to put that money back into your investments. But then you're never spending every dollar that you earn. Now, what I'm doing is, my goal isn't to live off of the income that I earn. My goal is to take all, if not the vast majority of all of my income and put that towards my investments and then just live off of my investment income. That's what I'm trying to do with my income. But you have to know that when you start getting paid, you need to pay yourself first. So now you have that investment chunk, right? You have this cash coming into your investment pool. Now you want to start putting that money back to work. That might be in the stock market, it might be the real estate market, it might be cryptocurrency. You just got to be smart. You don't want to throw all of your money into something that's just speculative, risky. You want to invest your money into things that have been proven. That way you can see the preservation of your wealth, but also the growth of your money. So you need to start putting that money back to work for you. And that might also be investing back into your education, because the education that you needed to get from 0 to 1 is different than the education you need from 1 to 2 and 2 to 5 and 5 to 10. So, there's different levels to everything. When you're getting started off, like we used to take classes on how to start an Instagram page, how to grow an Instagram page, and how to use SEO. We've really evolved to now, paying for coaches and consultants on SEO, for example. They charge way more than a class, but these are the things that, you want to keep learning. You want to keep investing in the education and growth. And that means you're going to have to increase your expenses. And it goes back to being willing to invest in yourself. The reason why I keep trying to increase my expenses is because my goal is to increase the revenue by reinvesting back into me, reinvesting back into the company, by reinvesting back into the brand. My goal is to, over the long run, to increase the revenue that we can make. And that's a tough decision you have to make, because it's a risk. Hey, I just made a $150,000 investment into this SEO coach. There's a chance it'll fail. We had an SEO coach that we paid $150,000 to, which failed. It did not do well. Now we got another one we're spending a lot of money on. But the whole goal is investing. That way you could potentially see growth. And you're going to sometimes make mistakes. You're going to see people that don't do a good job. But you have to be willing to learn, and you have to be willing to take risks. If you know how to manage your risks, if you are willing to take risks, then you'll be able to get some of the upside as well. But you have to be willing to take those risks. And you can mitigate some of the risk by learning, but you have to be willing to take the risk.
No, absolutely. Is there ever a time, though, when somebody should stop investing?
No, never. You should always be investing. Look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is still investing to this day. Every successful person is always investing in themselves, in their career, in their education, in their health, and back into their finances. You have to keep investing into yourself. And there's so many different ways that you can invest. We've been focused on the financial side, but you also got to focus on the non-financial side. You need to focus on investing in your physical health. If you're morbidly obese, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're on your deathbed. You need to take care of your physical health. Now, obviously, you have to make sacrifices at some point. When I used to start off as an entrepreneur, I was not sleeping. I was working my butt off. Now I get more sleep. You can't always live with balance. You have to have imbalance in your life to get to a point where you can have more balance. Because now, guess what? I can sleep a lot more. I can do a lot more things in my time. But you have to be willing to put in that imbalance to get that balance. You have to be willing to invest in your mental health. If you are struggling with anxiety or depression, do whatever you got to do. Do whatever you got to do to work on that. That might mean talking to a doctor. It might be talking to a therapist. It might be going into rehab. It might mean doing whatever it is, whatever the cost is. You have to be willing to pay that, because if you are miserable, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you cannot live with yourself mentally, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You will never be able to live a happy life. There's no point to have $10 million if you're miserable with the money that you have. You have to be willing to invest in your mental health. Take care of yourself. And, even if you're not having to deal with these type of mental issues, you still got to take care of your mental health, man. Take care of, if you're exercising, you got to be doing things that are your meditation. Now, I go for a walk in the mornings. That's my meditation. I go for a 1.5 hour walk in the morning, This is usually before the sun rises. I listen to my audiobooks. It's my time to be alone with me. It's such a peaceful time. I do my own prayer then. I listen to audiobooks. I'm getting some physical exercise in. I can't explain like the way it makes me feel, but it makes me feel so much better because I'm doing this. You have to be willing to do that. You got to invest in your spiritual health. This doesn't mean religion. This means, what is your purpose? You need to have a purpose in life. If you do not have a purpose, then what the heck are you doing in your days? You're not going to have a reason to get out of bed. You have to be willing to invest in that. Once you have these three things, the physical health, the mental health, the spiritual health, this is where the financial health really gives you the most value, because now you have the ability to live a fulfilled life. You have to be willing to invest in yourself, and that investment never stops. And that's the thing. People make that argument of, don't you have enough? No. Are you serious? What is enough? You're here for one purpose. You have one life on this earth. The more value you can provide, the more you can earn. And we're here trying to educate people. Hey, we have more than 1 million subscribers. Isn't that enough? Well, we're still trying to educate more. You still have millions of people that are drowning in credit card debt. You still have millions of people that have never made a single investment in their life. You still have millions of people that are broke. We have a mission. We have a mission that we have to take care of. So, that idea of enough's enough, it's a broke mentality. It's a loser's mentality. And if you think that's enough, then hey, you can stop. That's fine. But for me, you got to keep willing to invest in yourself. Sure, maybe I don't need to grind 20 hours a day like I did before. I can take a step back, but I'm always investing in myself. I'm always investing into our future. I want to take care of not just myself, but I want to take care of a legacy. I want to create a legacy. I want to be able to give back. The more you have, the more you can do. You can give more when you have more. And there's people suffering around the world. The more you have, the more you can do. And you have to be the one that's willing to take charge of that, because everybody's saying, oh, it's your job, it's the government's job, it's this entity's job, it's this corporation's job. If it's a real issue to you, then do something about it. Do something about it. And that's what, for me, financial education was something that was such a pain point to me, where I'm trying to do something about it. And, I've seen the struggle that people in my community, the Punjabi community, Sikh community, have gone through. So I try to raise awareness about it. I try to educate about it. I've seen some of the struggles that people in Detroit have gone to. So I try to do something about it. I'm a co-founder of a community service organization here. We try to do a lot of things to give back. I can't do everything, but I'm doing something. And you have a lot of people that are lazy, that are sitting at their homes on their sofa complaining about everything. They're complaining about everything. That's what they do. Keyboard warriors. They sit there, they'll complain about, oh, Jaspreet, you shouldn't talk about this. Oh, Jaspreet, I don't like that you did this type of community service. You should have done this. Anytime we do any sort of community service event, we get this type of feedback. You shouldn't have done this. You should have done this. Then do it yourself. If you don't like it, then make that change yourself. You have a whole world of people that are lazy, that are critical, that are miserable, and so all they do is spew hate in the world. There's a lot of hate in the world, and you see it on the internet because people are not behind the screen. When people are behind the screen, they could say whatever it is that they want, and they don't feel like anybody really knows who it is. But you have to be, that's what makes it hard, is you have to be willing to ignore that noise and do what's important to you and be willing to make that change. This is why I keep saying we need more good people with money. Money is just a tool. It amplifies who you are. If you give a bad person more money, they have a tool to do more bad. If you give a good person more money, they have a tool to do more good, which is why we need more good people with money. Whew. And with that, I think it's time. Is it time?
It's time.
It's time for Guac Round, where I answer your financial questions. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a random guy on YouTube. And everything that I talk about is my opinion. But if you want the opinion of a random guy on YouTube, then I want you to call in. I'll put the link to our voicemail in the description below. You can call in, ask me your personal questions. When you call in, tell me who you are, tell me where you're calling in from, and then give me your personal questions. And then I will try to answer them on our Guac Talk questions. So who was our first caller, Nathan?
Today's first question is from I-Chen.
Hi, Jaspreet. My name is Yi-Chen. I am calling from San Jose, California, and I'm in my early 30s. I am a Henry.
Thank you for calling in.
My husband and I have a question, which is we have a condo that we bought in 2018, and it has since actually decreased in value by about $90,000 to $100,000. We could rent it out and have negative $100 to $200 of cash flow.
Okay.
Or we could sell it, but we will be losing about $180,000 considering closing costs. So I wanted to see if we should rent it out or sell it.
Yeah, good question. So you were in a tough situation. You bought this home thinking that it was an asset, like many people are told. You thought it was going to go up in value, but for whatever reason, the home has gone down in value, and you can either sell the home at a loss or you can rent the property and continue to lose money every single month with the hope that your home will go up in value, that way you can sell it for a profit. Now, I do want to mention one thing. You said that you were a Henry. Henry, for those who don't know, is a high income earner, not rich yet. So you are a Henry who wants this home and you are underwater on it. So the question, I don't know where you're calling in from, and I don't know the local market there, but if you are in an area where businesses are moving away from, where demand is moving away from, you want to cut your losses as soon as possible. Because if you are in an area where the demand is not going to, then what's going to happen? You're going to rent your home out, and you're going to be paying money every single month. $100 out of your pocket every single month is going in there, but all you're doing is just waiting for the inevitable. You're waiting for the day that you're going to be able to sell this property, but you don't know if that's going to happen. And if you're in an area, especially right now, where property values have declined and businesses are moving away, then that's a big red flag, because we have seen some of the biggest housing booms ever in 2020 and 2021. And if you're in an area where home prices have fallen by that much, you need to really take a good look at what's coming into that area in the next few years. If you see businesses moving out, if you see more property values going down, you need to cut that loss as fast as possible, because if you just hold it and you keep losing that money every single month, then you're going to see the property value fall even more. And now you're going to not lose $100,000, you might lose $200,000 when it comes to closing. So you really got to just be aware of what's going on in the area. If you see businesses coming in, then hey, it might be worthwhile for you to continue paying the rent and lose a little bit of money. That way you can sell it for a little bit less of a loss, but you have to understand the area.
This next question is from Matt.
Hi, Jaspreet. My name is Matt, and I'm calling from Lunenburg, Massachusetts.
Hey, Matt, thank you for calling in.
You mentioned on your channel that schools don't do enough to teach children financial literacy and the basics of financial success. What specific things would you like to see schools do to set up children for a more successful future?
Wow,
Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Matt, for that question. That is a great question. Obviously we talk about schools teaching financial education, which is so important. The tough part about that is when a teacher doesn't understand money, it can be very hard for them to teach money. It's hard to teach something that you don't know. That's why we created the K-12 teacher curriculum, which not only teaches teachers money, but it teaches how to teach about money. This is a free curriculum. If you want to download that, we'll put the link in the description. You can download it on our website, theminoritymindset.com. Just click on the Academy button. But the things that I would really like to see people and teachers teaching in school is, first, the cost of debt. You have a lot of 17 and 18-year-olds that are signing up for financial death sentences when they sign the piece of paper to go to college when they cannot afford it, especially if they don't know why they're going to college and they don't know what they want to learn. So the first thing is teaching about the cost of debt and the alternatives to potentially taking on all of that debt. Second is not just financial. I'd love to see schools teaching more about just general health. We live in this pill-popping microwave culture right now where it is so normal to want the fast and convenient solution to everything. We want the microwave food, we want the fast food, and then when we start to have health problems, we just start popping pills. But this, it's hurting people on a health, spiritual level, just teaching people the basics of health. How do you read the nutrition label on food? What do you know? What is healthy food? What is not healthy food? How do you take care of your health? Because we only have one body. And if you don't start to learn this when you're young and you start to care about it when you're a lot older, well, then it might be too late. So you want to start learning about these things when you're younger. And then I'd love to hear schools just start teaching about money. What is money? How does money work? How can you start using money in your own life? Budgeting. These are basic things that everyone can teach. And I do have one more thing as well. I'd also like to see schools talk about risk, because so many people are scared to take risks. So many people are scared to do something out of the ordinary because they're scared of making a mistake. But you have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to be wrong. And you have to be willing to try new things if you want to achieve bigger success. So I'd love to see schools teach people that it's okay to make mistakes, that it's okay to take risks, and the benefits of potentially taking risks even if you screw up.
Next question here is from Henry.
Hi, Jaspreet. My name is Henry. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Hey, Henry, how you doing? Thanks for calling in.
And my financial question is, how do you continue to invest in stocks or real estate or crypto when you have a family that doesn't invest and doesn't understand investing and keeps telling you, oh, well, the real estate market could crash, or, oh, well, what about the crash? You need to save your money. And as we know, listening to the minority mindset, that inflation is the silent killer. What are you supposed to do? I mean, are you supposed to just lie and not tell them, like, oh, yes, I'm saving lots of money, and especially when you're young and you can take on risks? I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, that's a tough question. A very, very tough question. And I've been there, not necessarily on the full investing side, but in the entrepreneurial side. When I started off as an entrepreneur, I had to do it in secret because my family would not approve. If they knew what I was doing, they'd be very angry because I wasn't doing what they thought was right. And so I had to do everything that I did in secret. Now, it's a little bit different when it's your parents versus your spouse, your wife, and your kids, because now you have to look out for their financial futures. You really just got to sit down with them and talk about money. You have to get open about money. You have to talk about the risks of what happens if you invest today and you lose, and what happens if you don't invest today and you're right. And so these are the things that you have to be having these open conversations with. I don't know if it's right for you to go take this money aside in secret away from your wife and go do something where she's not going to be happy with it. You have to have these open conversations. That way you can have an open relationship and start talking about money, and maybe come up with a little bit of money, come up with a little portion and say, let me try it. And let's try it together. Let's see how it works. We're not going to go in with everything, but let's at least test it. And maybe come up with a little portfolio that says, every month, we're going to take this percentage of our money. Maybe it's not 15% yet. Maybe it's only 5%. Start with a little bit, get your foot in the door, and then start to grow. And that way that people can start to see the possibilities. Because you're right, if the markets crash, you lose. And that might make your family much more against it. But if you're right and you start to see the growth, there'll be more for it. And if markets do go down, then that's another opportunity for you to come in and invest even more aggressively, because then you can talk about the potential upside. So you need to start getting open and just get your foot in the door, get your toe in the water. Start with a little bit. That way they can start to see the opportunities. And with that, that's another episode of Guac Talk in the works. Thank you, Nathan. If you want to see more of Nathan, check him out at Minority Mindset News. He's publishing videos every single day on the top finance and business news. You got to check out his channel if you have not already. Make sure you subscribe. That's Guacky. This is Jaspreet saying from Guac Talk, and I'll see you next time. So now, the real cost of this jacket isn't $150. It is almost 10 hours of my time, and it is the opportunity to make $1,100 over the next 30 years. Now you can ask yourself, do I really want to spend $150 on a jacket now? Too late, I already got it, Jaspreet.